All right, this is 513, toggle mixed up or write code practice. So we're going to go through each of these. The first question says, fix the following code so that the dog class has a constructor that takes in a string argument called name, okay, and assigns that value to the instance variable name. So I could just say this dot name is assigned name. So the name gets passed in, assigns it to this name. Is that all at once? Let's check. Cool, that's all at one. And then this runs. Next up, it says can create a constructor for the dog class that takes two parameters, name, which is a string, and age, which is an integer, and saves them in correspondingly named instance variables. So create a constructor. All right, so we'll make sure the public will be a public constructor. And we'll say public dog. And if you look from before, right, whenever we create a constructor, we have to write what we're passing in here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and make this first. But it says taking in two parameters, string name and int age, and saves them a corresponding. So this dot name is assigned the name that's being passed in, and this dot age is assigned whatever the age is. So the name gets passed in here from the constructor, then you'd save this instance variable age as well. Is that all it wanted? Let's see if it wants anything else. I ran it, completed, well done. So this is what it wanted me to write. That constructor right there. Okay. Fix the errors. Every time it gives me a fix the errors one, I like fix like one error at a time. So, or like think I fixed them all and then forget one, something silly. It says fix the errors commented as to do in the code so that it defines the cat class correctly. There should be a make a sound method that prints meow and returns nothing. There should be also a toString method that returns all that stuff. Okay, so let's look. So to do, fix the method header. Void. Okay, because it's not actually returning anything. Okay, the return, if there was a return type, right, that's when we would use that, but we don't need that there. So void. And then fill in this method toString. Okay, we're gonna return, says it returns name. Okay, I'll just copy this. Return name plus this dot name plus age plus this dot age, like that. Let me see if that's right. Sure. Let's see. should print meow. Let's run through this. So cat Luna created a new cat named Luna. It's 3 years old. I'm guessing that's what that, yeah, it's age. Okay, so name Luna 3. So it's passed into the instance variables, right? Luna dot make sound. Make sound should print meow, right? If you print Luna, it should print name Luna age 3. Let's run it. Let's see if I did anything wrong. Oh, semicolon. Silly mistake. Then we're good. So first time I ran it, I forgot that semicolon right there on line 14. Well, I fixed it, and there it is. Okay. Write code that completes the square class. It needs two variables, length and number of squares. Length is an instance variable, while number of squares is a class variable that tracks how many squares have been made. Okay, so we'll say private int length, and then we'll say private static int num of squares. Get area also needs to be completed. So get area is going to take also needs, wouldn't it be like this length times this width? It's very well. Num of squares the class. So get area, I guess it would just be if it's a square, then it's the same length. Thinking too much about this, right? So the area would be whatever see if there's length is this variable while, so could I just say return this dot length squared, right? Wouldn't that make sense? 5 times 5. Okay, and then to string, we want it to return length plus this dot length, semicolon. Okay, just like it says right here. So if someone were to type in, so let's see, number of squares is assigned 0. This is only set for evaluation. Num of squares. Let's run this and see what we get. Doesn't like that. This dot length times this dot length. what didn't it like here? It says number of squares cannot find symbol. Should probably read what it wants, right? Get area also needs to be completed, which will return the area. Okay. Finally, there needs to be a completed toString method that returns length dot this length. So new square 5. So get area, return that. Not find symbol. Num of squares plus plus. Set for evaluation, 3 errors. Num of squares, this is only some. If I didn't, num of squares should be static and initialized. Turn that. Oh, I should type number of squares. Was that really it? Oh my gosh. That's so silly. Number of squares. I wrote num of squares instead of number of squares. Is assigned 0. Okay. Dumb mistake. So initialize it. It tells me to initialize it right there. And I didn't do it. And I wrote num of squares. It said number of squares. That's a dumb mistake. Write code that completes the rectangle class. It should have constructors that can take 0 or 2 integer parameters. Okay. With 0 arguments passed, rectangle should be initialized with a length of 10. So I'll say this dot length is assigned 10. And this dot width is assigned 10. And then for a 2-parameter one, we'll say public rectangle, open and close this. It's going to take 2 parameters. Should have int length, int width. And it says rectangle should have a length equal to the first argument with a width equal to the second argument. Okay, so this dot length is assigned length, and this dot width is assigned the width. There should also be a get area method that returns the area. So the get area. So I'll say public int get area. Okay, and what you're going to return is the length times the width. This length times this one. Okay. Let's see what that looks like. Let me run it. Pass. Okay. No parameters being passed in, 2 parameters being passed in the constructor. All right, write code that completes the celestial body class. Each celestial body instance has an integer orbit length in days, and an integer days since discovered attribute, which is initially 0. Using these, write the orbit, okay, int number of times method that adds, okay. So days since discovered. Make sure I'm spelling all these right because I make silly mistakes. I'm taking the number of times and multiplying it by the orbit length. Semicolon. Also fix the 2 errors in the class. Okay, so public celestial body, my constructor, int orbit length. This dot orbit length is that what, like, there's an error in the function or in the header. Is it saying it wants me to say this dot orbit length is assigned orbit length? I'm not sure if they want me to take this out. Okay, there's an error in the header. There's an error in this header. Okay, probably should be void because it's not returning anything. Yeah. So let's look down here. So passing 28 to celestial body, that gives you the orbit length, right? Which is 28. Um, let's run it. Let's see what we get. Sometimes got to read through this. Okay, cool. So it didn't want me to touch this. I just didn't know because it says there's an error. When I think error, that makes me think of like someone did something like wrong in the code they wrote, but this was in the code they didn't write at all. So I would say instead of saying there's an error in it, I would say more needs to be added to this. Cool. Did it. Completed. Okay, looks like we gotta do a lot of things in this one. Got a few more. Got 4 more. Let's do it. Okay, write code to create a person class. Each person instance should have a string. Define a string private string name. Define an instance called age. So I'll say private int age. Create a constructor. What was a long line? Create a constructor that takes name and age in that order and initializes the instance variables. Okay, so I'll say public person, and this is going to be my constructor here. And it's going to take name, so string name and int age. It's going to assign this name is assigned whatever the name is, and this age, my instance variables, create a get name method. So I'll say public void get name. Okay, open and close. And the get name is going to return this dot name. Create a set name. So I'll say public void set name. Well, actually, it will be, this would be not void. Sorry, this would be public string. This would be public void set name. And what would be coming in, it would say the set name would be receiving something, right? So maybe receiving one thing, set name methods. Let's go with the main method. So set name, yeah, you're passing in something, so string name. So we can say this dot name is assigned name here. Create a toString method that should return, right? Um, so we'll say this is going to be public string toString. And we are going to return, it says name, this dot name is this dot age plus years old, semicolon. Okay, that's what we're returning in our toString. So let's look through and see what it asked me to do. Create an instance variable name, instance variable age, create my constructor, age, yep. Get name, it's not void, it's returning a string, it's returning this name. This name is assigned the name here in the set name to my toString. So let me see the main method. So we pass in Joe2, right? That should pass in Joe, and he's 2 years old. Print out P's name, should print out Joe. All right, let's just, like, that looks good there. Then we change name to Joseph. P's name is Joseph. All right, let's run this. Let's see what we get. Cool, did it. There is my code. Right, it's good to practice these. Keep practicing them over and over and over, even if you don't get them at first. Go through chapter 5 very slowly. If you haven't been following along, go back to chapter 5 videos, watch them, take your time, rewind them, go slowly through, ask me if you have any questions. Write code to create a point class. Each point instance should have integer x and y attributes. Okay, and the construction should take them in order. Okay, so this dot x is assigned x. Okay, this y. Okay. So from your reference sheet. So we'll take math dot, well, first, get x, get y. This would, I'll do this one first. I'll do these two first. Return this dot x, and this would return this dot y. So what we need to do is we need to write, I guess starting off, get distance. So we're going to return, say math dot, take the square root of all of that. So math dot square root of math dot how, and inside of there, I'm going to say this dot x minus other dot x, and the second thing I'm passing in there two, right? Power of that plus math dot pow, say this dot y minus other dot y, and we're going to find the square. So the second argument that you're passing in here is going to be what power you're raising it to. Then there should be a toString method that returns point x, point y. Got it. So this would return how else we do this? We return get x method and plus, what's the formatting look like? So space like that, plus we get y. I mean, since we're already in here, I guess we could say this x. We could say this y. And then we'll close it, and then semicolon. Is that what it wants? Let's run it. Let's see what we did wrong. Okay, semicolon expected. Oh yeah, I need one of those. After all that code, let's put a semicolon. So I put a semicolon in line 14 there at the end. Let's try again. Let's see if we get what we want. Cool, got it. So I just forgot a semicolon and all that. So structure it this way, math.pow. First argument that you pass into that is what you're using here. The second one is what power you want to raise it to. Okay. And there you go. There's that one. And then next question, it says write code to create an account class. Each account instance should have an integer. Okay, let's just follow the steps here, and then we can always put the pieces together. Okay, so I'll say public account, what's being passed into the constructor. So an int balance and a string owner. Should take them in this order. So I'll say this dot balance is assigned balance. And I'll say this dot owner is assigned owner. All right, create a deposit method. Okay. There should be a deposit method that takes an integer argument and adds to the balance. Okay, so I'll say public void. Okay, so it's not actually doing anything that takes an integer argument. So and adds it to the balance. It should be, so I'll say int amount, right? And adds it to the balance. So I'll say this dot balance, assign whatever the amount is, we'll add it to it. Then there's a withdrawal. Takes an integer argument, subtracts from the balance. Okay, so public void withdrawal, and it's going to receive an amount. And says if balance ends as a negative number, set to 0. So I'll say if amount is greater than the withdrawal, if the amount is greater than withdrawal, I'm sorry, if the amount is greater than the balance, then you would say balance is assigned 0. Else balance is going to subtract whatever the amount is. Okay, then the toString method returns account owner account balance. Okay, so create toString method So I'll say public string to string, and that's going to return something like this. So I'll say account owner. So we'll say what's it? This dot owner. This dot owner. Plus that in the space, and then the account balance afterwards. So we'll say this dot balance. Okay. Let's see if that's what it wants. Let's run it. Cool. And then it runs with example code there. Sweet. One more. Okay. So write code that completes the character class. Each character instance has an integer health points, abbreviate HP. Okay. Using these, write code that finishes the fight character other method that lets a character fight another. If the character's health points are the same or more than the others' HP should be set to 0. That entire section, on the other hand, if the other's HP is greater. So of course my computer died right there. So now I plugged it in, changed locations. I feel like what we can do here that's really easy, we can copy some of this, right? Well, I guess the part of the function is finished for you. Update the health points. So like, watch, so we could say like, well, it says update health points. So I could literally copy and paste instead of other set HP, we'd have other minus this, basically just change it up to be the exact opposite, right? And then update this object's HP to be 0, and then print out other dot get name wins. Okay. That's what I feel like would work. Let's run it to see if we're right. And yep. So what I did was just rewinding. So if our HP is more than the other character's HP, then we're going to take whatever the other's HP is, subtracted from ours, and that will set our new HP. And then we're going to set the other person's HP to 0 because theirs wasn't as much as ours. And then we say we win. But the opposite of that is I literally just changed it, right? So it was this, but change it to other. And the other wins. So that's the code I wrote. And that says completed, well done. We completed, this was 5:13.